All right. Good morning, Pastor Joe.
Good morning.
Thank you for agreeing to do this interview.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you first to tell me your name and your age because that's relevant to this interview.
Ooh, I'm old, so let's see. So my name is Joe Bernier, and I am 47 years old.
All right. Well, if you're old, then I'm old, so take that back. What is your current leadership role?
Current leadership role, I am the senior pastor of Cadence City Church in Coppers Cove, Texas.
All right. And then I know you've had a lot of previous leadership roles, but any that you can share quickly with me?
I've a lot of different ones in the secular world. I was the store manager, the business manager for a truck accessory place. I had, even in middle school, I ran a candy business. And church world, I've been children's pastor, I've been worship pastor, I've been executive pastor, business administrator, lots of different opportunities for leadership.
Awesome. So you'll have a lot of insight to share.
I don't know about that.
All right. First question. Some say leaders are born, some say they are made, and some say they're a combination of both. What do you feel is true about yourself? Please explain.
Some say leadership is born, some say leadership is made. I would say it's a mixture of both. I think people have bents towards different giftings that God gives them, and I definitely have that, but also opportunities and the environment that you're raised in, you know. Like I said, so from third grade we used to trade baseball cards and football cards, and actually even before that, first grade, we used to do garbage pail kits. And so always, you know, if there was some way to increase, a way to you know, take 1 plus 1 and get 3, I was always been about that. So
Okay. Well, what was your first leadership position and how did you get it?
first leadership position, so I kind of, I don't want to say lucked into it, but we were in, well, maybe I can go back a little bit. First leadership position, I worked at McDonald's, and they have different levels of people within the organization. And I, very first job McDonald's, and so I worked my way up to crew chief, and so I was responsible for the back room or the front room and different things like that. I was probably 18, 19 years old. And yeah, you just, if you're available, you're teachable, and you're not a jerk, then oftentimes people look to you for leadership.
Sounds like you've been leading from a very young age.
Yes.
Well, what are some challenges you faced when you first started leading others?
Challenges. My first challenges was exactly what you just said. I was always so young, and I would be leading people that are significantly older than me, and that doesn't usually go too well for the young leader. So I would do things like grow facial hair. I'd wear certain clothes. I'd wear things and do things that made myself appear older than I was, because that got me the respect in the room. I had the knowledge, I just didn't have the look that people were looking for.
That's interesting.
It is.
What is something you believed early in your career that you no longer believe today?
Something that I believed earlier in my career that I no longer believe today. I think one example could be the youth thing. You know, when you're young, you think that you know everything. And as you get older, you realize you didn't really know a whole lot of anything. And that doesn't mean you can't lead. That just means that there's more room for you to grow in your leadership.
Right.
But oftentimes we think that we've arrived and we're 21, 22, 23, 25, 30 years old, and we haven't. There's more life to learn. There's more lessons to learn. And so as you get older, you know, you've got more experience to lead from.
That's definitely true. Going back to school at 46, I can attest to that.
There you go.
How do you believe you have best influenced those that you do lead to follow you?
Great question. I think one way, there's a bug. One way I think that people follow you is when they have faith that you know what you're talking about. You've been there, you've done that, you've been in the trenches with them. It's kind of a, you know, you you lead them, then you lead with them, and then you entrust them to lead. And that's kind of been my leadership style. And I think that if you can people respect you because they know you have been or done what you're asking them to do, they're willing to do it for you.
So you
Or with
speak
you.
from a place of experience.
Absolutely.
And lead by example. All right. What are the biggest challenges facing Christian leaders today?
Biggest challenge facing Christian leaders today. So to be fair, she sent me these questions earlier, and I was supposed to look at them, but I didn't because I wanted to give you off the cuff answers.
All right.
Not something pre-rehearsed or whatever.
I like it.
So what is facing Christian leaders today? I think the world is changing so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so the world is changing, technology is changing, how we communicate is changing, the people's attention span is changing. So that's one thing. But the other thing is culture. Before, there's just so much that Christian leaders are facing, from culture, tearing down families, tearing down norms and standards, and which is in direct conflict with everything that we stand for and believe. So it's everywhere you turn. It seems like you're facing right or wrong. You're facing good versus evil. You're facing, God versus the devil. So there's just so much conflict. There's so much anger in people, so much frustration in people that they just lash out. And so you have to be firm in your foundation, and you have to be willing to adjust and adapt your leadership style or your how you communicate, because you can think you're communicating and people don't really know what you're saying, because your technique and how you communicate is not obsolete, but not as valued as it once was.
Right. So. Firm in your foundation. I hear that. All right. Have you ever made a leadership mistake that you learned deeply from? What happened, if you're willing to share?
Never made a mistake. Of course you make mistakes. Let me think. Leadership mistake that I learned from. Probably leadership mistake that I learned a lot from was when you're a younger leader, and especially in the church environment, there's lots of expectations on you. There's lots of things, and you're supposed to fit in these molds and do it because I said so, which is true. But when I was younger, I didn't have a grasp on family. I didn't have a grasp on time. So anytime the church was open, I was expected to be there. Anytime the something was needed, I was expected to be the one to do it. And you got to pay the price to get there. But I realized after probably 10 years of ministry that I was valuing ministry higher than family ministry. So one day, not one day, but like over the course of some time, I decided, hey, I went to my boss and I said, I'm out of alignment. I'm here and I'm not valuing my kids. I'm not valuing my family. So I said, either this is my 2 weeks notice, or I'm going to make some adjustments in how we do ministry together. And of course, you can't just walk into your boss and say that, but I had relational equity that I could do that, because if you go to your boss and you don't have any relational equity, you have no time in the business, or in the company, then they'll just, okay, see you later. But, I had proven myself, and what I was asking was not unreasonable. So that's when I started coaching my daughters in sports. I started spending time with them, being able to go to their school events and things like that. So learned a lot. And so now I just um, keep all that in mind as I'm working and as I'm leading, and even how I lead is literally from that conversation.
Well, it was a great lesson. Thank you for sharing that one. What does servant leadership mean to you, and how does it relate to your current position?
Servant leadership is, I don't want to say art form, but it's kind of an art form. It goes back to if people know that you care, if people know that you are willing to do it, um, you're willing to serve them, then they'll do a whole lot for you and with you, because they value that you're not just the person pointing out, giving orders and expecting people to do it with perfection. There's that relational equity in that. So, I'm constantly, people that I've known forever, constantly thanking them for showing up, for coming to church. Well, of course, where else would I be? Well, I still want you to know that I appreciate you being here. And, whether it's, singing on the worship team, whether it's just showing up, whether it's being thankful to me, I'm thankful back to them. So, being a servant leader is, not valuing yourself so highly that you can't be involved with people. So,
good answer. What do you wish you would have known before becoming a leader, and why?
what do I wish I knew before becoming a leader? One thing that I value, that I've learned, that I'm not necessarily seen modeled for me, was when you struggle, when you go through life, when you go through things as a leader, the expectation is that we don't go through anything, that we're perfect, that we don't struggle, that we don't have hardships. And so I try to tell people, hey, this is hard. This is not easy. These are some pitfalls. This is some struggles. This get you this kind of people in your life. Whereas, what I saw modeled was, you're the buck stops with you. It's, there are no hardships. I'm fine, thanks to Calvary. And there's, I don't go through anything. And so I try to be transparent with our church people, with our leadership team, but with other pastors that I lead as well, and letting them know that, I'm not perfect, and that perfect situations, I don't have a perfect family, I don't have a perfect job, I don't have a perfect church. And so that's one thing that I didn't know, that I wish I knew more from the beginning, is to understand that kind of a concept, because I always strive for perfection, and perfection is not attainable. Yeah. And so you get frustrated, you have anxiety, you have depression, you have all these things because you're trying to reach perfection as a ministry leader, and it's just not possible. So
I get that. I think that was my problem with parenting. So.
Parenting too.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Last question. When other people look back on your leadership, what do you hope they remember?
When people look back,
on your leadership,
on leadership,
what do you hope they remember?
I guess the number one thing, I did see that question just because I just glanced, but I didn't read any of the other questions. So I pondered that a little bit. I think what I would answer that question with would be the simple fact that I cared enough to care. There's so many people are in it for what they can get. And, obviously, I like stuff. I like things. I like to grow and learn and those kinds of things. but I want people to know that I actually honestly care about them and their progression and their life and what they do, and that weaves from my family. You know, my family gives. We're givers. We are involved with people's life. In my real estate, I'm a realtor. In my real estate business, you know, I try to help people to get to their potential, the things that they say they want, but they don't know how to get there. And so, you know, in the last year, I've helped 4 families get property and multiple acres and start a new life, and it's been beneficial to all of them. And just like seeing people grow and grow closer to God, grow closer to each other. And I think that all starts with somebody caring enough to care. So I think that would be it.
Well, I think that goes in line with the servant leadership as well. So you're nailing it. And I think that you're doing a great job. And I didn't intend to end the interview with a word of encouragement, but I want to. So I thank you, and that you definitely are leading in a way that shows people that you care. You care very much about your congregation and your people. And I thank you for taking the time to answer these questions. You're already mentoring me, but this was a nice opportunity to ask some different questions outside of the regular stuff that we do.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate it. They're valuable and they'll be very useful. And I'll look back at this in the future.
She wants to get 100. So
no,
give her 100.
Thank you.
All right.